Your team member isn't bad. They just haven't gotten feedback. I want you to think about this for a second. You have a team member and you're fed up. You feel like they are just not getting it. They're missing the mark. It kind of feels like this person doesn't care because the thing they're missing, it's so freaking obvious to you. Like, of course we'd have to do that thing every day, or of course we'd have to be on time, or of course we have to send the notes out this way, or of course we should talk to the client this way. And so you're literally at your wit's end and you're thinking, I I got to hire another person. I don't want to have to deal with this. I guess I'll start taking on some of these responsibilities so that I don't get left without coverage here. And you're just racking your brain for what to do about it. And in the meantime, your team member knows none of this because your team member isn't bad. They just haven't gotten feedback. And that's what we're going to talk about today. I'm Lia Garvin, and this is the new Manager Playbook podcast, where I am on a mission to make managing your team the easiest part of your job. And nothing's harder than when your team member sucks, right? When you have someone that's not delivering and it's happening over and over and you're really frustrated and you're having to take on more slack, or other team members are having to take on more slack and they're getting frustrated. Nothing is worse than that. So yeah, I get it. None of us want to be in that situation. But what I hear every single day is I don't know why my team members are missing the mark. I hear it from the corporate leaders that I work with in industries from tech to sports to marketing to home building. And I hear it from business owners. This team member, they're just not getting it. They're just not getting it. I need to find a new person. Or I have a few people that are just not getting it. And the person isn't delivering, they've got to go. And the first thing I always ask when someone says they have a team member that's underperforming is, well, what feedback have you given them? And 9 times out of 10, it's crickets. No feedback was given. Nothing. Or it was really lightweight or a little bit vague and abstract. Come on, general. And we didn't give feedback that the person will be able to action. And I've had a few recent examples where someone has wanted to get rid of an employee. And so I've gotten involved with doing some performance improvement coaching. And this is something that I strongly recommend. If you feel like someone is not hitting the mark, get them some coaching. See, is it salvageable? I think when we recognize someone is not delivering, unless it's something really egregious, which I'll let you decide what that is, mishandling of funds, egregious, lashing out on a client or a customer, egregious, right? There's some things that are pretty obvious. Obviously, harassing anybody, of course, discriminating. Yes, those are like boom right away. Violence is, But if something's more around performance, delivery, output, right? These are the things that are, it might feel egregious when it's happened a few times, but these are the things that we want to figure out. Like, with some support, could this person turn these behaviors around? So for all of the stuff over there, which is probably 98% of the things that come up, right, day to day, someone that's missing the mark, a little bit slow, there may be some excuses, the attitude's always great, but like that kind of general day to day little performance bugs. That's the stuff that if you recognize someone is not delivering, to get them some performance coaching and help them improve that and make a plan. And they have to correct these certain things in a certain amount of time. And then you kind of assess. Now, I've always said it, I'm not an HR professional. I don't have training in kind of the ins and outs of compliance, especially around firing folks. And it does vary state to state. But I do know that it's strongly advised by HR experts to give people a performance plan and offer them the opportunity to course correct. And what is the foundation of that plan? They've got to know what the hell they were doing wrong. They need feedback first. Okay, so I'm going to start. That's what we're going to talk about, right? What do we even mean here? When you've decided someone isn't hitting the mark when they're already like a lost cause, what typically happens is we decide this and then we kind of get tunnel vision to seeing any of the positives that are working, or sort of forget what we've communicated. And it seems like, yeah, I told them, it's so clear, like they should know this. That's the kind of thing that we actually have to take a step back and we have to think, what actually did I say? And when did I say it? And under what circumstances did I say it? That's the feedback. So let's take a scenario. Let's say a team member, they are coming in late all the time, right, to your team meetings. And you had a situation where it was pretty loose. Like you work in an office, but it's pretty laid back. People kind of come and go in the mornings. People kind of trickle in, not come and go, but people trickle in 9:15, grabbing coffees, chit-chatting. And around you have a weekly meeting that starts at 9:30. And it's pretty casual at first, right? And you get started, there's a little bit of chit chat, and probably like 9:40, you kind of start on the meat of the conversation. But you have a team member and they're always coming in around like, the meeting starts at 9:30, they're getting there 9:35, 9:40, they got the iced coffee in hand, and it just starts to bug you. You're like, come on, like the meeting starts at 9:30. And you just notice it a few times and now you're thinking like, this person doesn't respect me or my time. I'm here at 9:30. I got here at 9:00 to open the doors. Like what's going on? How come this person thinks it's okay to roll in iced coffee, acting like there was traffic, but it's like, obviously you made a stop and they're late over and over and over. And so finally you say to them, hey, like, what's going on? Like, you have no respect for this place here. Like, do you even want to be on this team? And that person's thinking, whoa, what? You never said we start right at 9:30. It was unclear. People were just chit-chatting. There was no expectation set. And then you didn't give them any feedback when they were late. They have no idea. Now, I give this example because it can seem really trivial, like meeting start time. But these are the little things that start to add up. And we think to ourselves, it's so obvious the invite starts at 9:30, but you have these little cultural norms on the team, like everyone's chit-chatting, doesn't really get started. So it feels like maybe to the other person, it wasn't a firm expectation. And then you did not give any feedback when they were late a few times, and you just built up this frustration. And they are on the receiving end of this like really elevated frustration when they had no idea. Now, we can imagine how this takes shape with bigger things. Someone that's, let's say I talked about this, on an episode a couple weeks ago, using AI constantly, and they leave in the M dashes in, and it's very obviously using AI, and you're like, can you please proofread this? If I wanted to have a robot write all the copy for this, I would just do that. I wouldn't pay you money either. I wouldn't pay you also, right? And you're getting frustrated, and you're thinking like, obviously I have you in this job so that I don't have, that there's like a human writing and discerning this and kind of redoing this. And it's so that I don't have to use AI only. I don't want to do that. Obviously that's not what I want to do. And you have this team member and they're thinking, whoa, like this is awesome. I can shortcut this project by using AI here. And like, this is a disconnect resolved through feedback. And when you're not giving feedback and you're just looking over that person, you're like, I'm so frustrated. Like, I get it. We get frustrated, but we don't tell that person. And we get more frustrated and we get more frustrated. And we reach this ending that feels like we can't come back from it. But we can. We can come back from most endings by giving feedback, by stopping and getting on the same page. And what happens when I do this coaching and these performance kind of improvement conversations for folks, I always, tell the manager, the leader, business owner, or corporate leader, I got to be meeting with you and I've got to be meeting with that person because there's a gap on both ends. And it doesn't mean I'm like taking sides with, anyone, or if the person's performance is really struggling, that I don't think that they need to turn it around. It's, we need to get really aligned on the expectations and what feedback's being given, because that is where the corrective steps happen. Like that's where the little things are fixed. And a lot of times by really seeing, okay, where are the disconnects in communication showing up on both sides, the performance turns around right away. And I want you to find that empowering and inspiring and find hope in that, because it's a pain in the butt to rehire. It's a pain in the butt to retrain, to onboard, to get new folks. And if someone has an interest in turning it around, if someone's like really, doing their best to try to get there. Like, don't we want to figure that out? Even if they're a little bit defensive or a little bit frustrated or feel like, like they're not like just like, oh my God, please, like I love feedback, tell me everything. Like, but they're not always gonna feel that way. But we want to try. And I'm gonna say it again, your team members aren't bad. They just haven't gotten feedback most of the time. We want to give them an opportunity. We've got to give people feedback. We have to demystify it. We have to give them positive and recognition. We have to give them constructive. And if someone is not performing, we got to give constructive feedback continually. We've got to set expectations and come back with the feedback and see how they respond. We have to say, what were you hoping to see? And by when? And when we're supposed to review things. You have to say, what does it mean you're not meeting the mark? What does that look like? What does it mean this thing was supposed to be this certain way? Show an example. These things, again, it feels so obvious to us. We're in the middle of it. We see it, but it's just not always obvious to someone else. Make it obvious for them. And then if they're resistant or like it just isn't catching on, it could be a skills issue. They could get some coaching or development. Maybe they're a wrong fit for the role. If it's an attitude thing and they're not willing to improve, then that could be a wrong fit. But we can't just decide that out of the gate. And again, this is something I hear every single day. Like, I'm just worried about my team member. They're not a fit. They're not getting it. It's always like, okay, let's level up, go up altitude, bird's eye view, come up here and think about, what have I said? What have they been expecting? What have they been informed? Where are we at? What are all the pieces up top? We got to get out of the weeds and start to think, okay. And if we said today is day one, and I'm going to give them a new chance, give them a new opportunity, then we would have to start with, okay, what are the expectations? Even though it felt super obvious and they should know better, and it's clear to me, clear as day to everyone else. Okay, this is what we are doing. Here is any context. This is the why. Context. Here's any context. This is the why. Here's any backstory. Here's an example if it has to be done a certain way. More context. Here's when we want to check in. Here's what success looks like. Here's what done looks like. That's all the expectation setting. Boom. That's step one. Give them a little chance, see what they come back with, and then give feedback. Okay? Then we know. Only then we know. Before that, we don't have a chance. Okay? We can't keep having a revolving door of employees because we didn't give feedback. That's on us. If we are losing people because we didn't give feedback, that's on us. When we didn't see if there was a chance, it's on us. Every time you lose a team member because they didn't know what they could have fixed, you're actually losing opportunity yourself as a leader to identify, oh, okay, well, how can I be more clear in the future? Because if you get a new team member, like let's say someone was really missing the mark with certain things around communicating clearly to clients or to stakeholders, and things need to be done a certain way, and they weren't doing it. It was like a huge miss, right? And you just like, screw it, that person's not going to get it. Now you bring another person in. How would that person know too? Right? Like maybe they'll figure out, maybe they'll observe, maybe they are a little bit more kind of like, oh, like asking to shadow you or like proactive. But if they're not, you're going to have the same mistake again and again and again and again. So you got to get better at setting expectations and giving the feedback so that you don't have that same issue. And then at least you know that your employee got the feedback and is still bad. So before you decide it's hopeless, before you decide it's over, think to yourself, okay, what feedback can I give? Where can I be more clear? And then give that feedback. And I'm telling you, most of the time it can turn around. Most of the time, at least you figure out where the gap was so that it can be a training thing or something that you can build into your process in the future. All right. See you next time.